Hello world, Monte Coleman, IES Coaching, coming through with our fourth installment of The Harsh Truth. Today's video is entitled Haters, Critics, and Advisors. The reason why this video is so important is that all of us, from any activity we do, whether it's the most mundane of goals to the most excellent of goals or high-reaching goals, from the most mundane of projects to the most ambitious of projects, from the most smallest of mundanest of dreams to the most visionary dreams you can have, are going to have these haters, these critics, and these advisors. And out of all three of these categories, there's a category that gets most misunderstood and people get thrown in sometimes when they don't deserve it, and sometimes because of our own issues. That's the category of haters. And I'll break it down more as I describe what these different type of people are in our lives. But a lot of times we throw people in the hater category only because they're hitting us with a harsh truth. As they say, truth hurts. Sometimes in order to protect our feelings, our egos, we throw somebody in the hater category when they may fit in the other two. And I'll describe the difference in a few seconds. So, in the introduction, quickly jumping in. What is an actual hater? The overall view of a hater is someone who has a constant critique of everything you do, and it's always negative. It's always trying to find loopholes in your arguments, errors in your videos, errors in your messages, the dark side of anything you do. If you win the lottery, they'll say, "Oh, you're just gonna go blow the money." It's like they always have something negative to say. The most obvious of characteristics of a hater is that it's said with malice, meaning it's said to cause injury to you. Key category is said with malice, like in the heart there's malice. This may be hard to tell depending on how it's worded, because some things may sound like they're full of malice but may not be. But for the most part, haters are full of, it has malice. The second tier, haters are more concerned with sharing the critique about you with others than to just you. Meaning haters love public displays of putting out your mistakes, your weaknesses, or your errors. Once again, first one is malice. Second one is they love to well, actually it's the second and third. They love to air your mistakes in public, and it's designed not to go towards you, but to go to people around you, meaning that they're not trying to critique you, they're trying to let everybody know, air your dirty laundry, so to speak. So that's what a hater does. A hater doesn't just say bad things about you, but they want to make sure it's heard by the public, and they're more concerned with the public hearing it than they're getting back to you. Fourth category of a hater, fourth description, is that there is never a constructive side to the criticism. It is just raw criticism with no pointers, suggestions, or constructive growth. So, haters, what? Had malice in their heart. You could tell that everything they do was out of malice. Two, they want it to be a public display of, they want to say and do what they got to do in public. Three, they're more concerned with others seeing your fault than you seeing your fault. And four, it has no constructive criticism in it. So truly, the hater is definitely an enemy to you. It's a person that has ill intent. But I'm going to go a little bit more into how a hater can be beneficial, and not the general way you hear most people talk about how they need haters. Haters do have a purpose, but not the purpose that you hear a lot in today's social media. But I'll break it down as I finish this section. Critics. A critic is someone who always finds fault in what you do. But a critic necessarily does not have malice. Some of your harshest critics are people that genuinely care about your well-being. So, a critic still has something negative. They always have a critique or something you could do better. They always have something to say that's in a form of criticism. The next level of a critic is usually unsolicited. It's usually a person who's a critic. You don't even have to ask. They just shoot it at you. You put up a post, you get an email about the spelling errors in it. You make a statement, you get fact checked. So a critic usually has a lot of negative to say. It's usually unsolicited, but they don't have malice. The next category of a critic is they really don't. I'm not gonna say sugarcoat. We don't sugarcoat anything. They don't what we call do the criticism sandwich. They don't have anything beneficial to say. They don't say, "Well, this is what you did well. This is what you need to work on, but this is what you also did well." That's designed to be encouraging. When you give somebody a critique, you want to kind of make it encouraging. So you have to have a blend of corrective actions, also with praise of that which is done well. But critics don't do that. Critics do you all the corrective actions, show you all the things you've done wrong, and that's what they stick on. They're a critic. They critique your work. Will a critic praise unblameworthy work? It varies depending on the type of critic. Some critics will say, great book, great work, if they can't find anything to criticize. So, unlike a hater, a critic may have positive things to say, but it's after harsh scrutiny to be put on something. So that's a critic. Once again, they have a benefit, but also they have shortcomings with critics. And I'll get more into that in the next section when I talk about, why we hate them and, what's the real threat, and then go through what's the real benefit. Advisor. Here's the one we all love and should love. An advisor, first, has your general well-being and success at the top of the reason as to why they speak. An advisor has your general well-being and success as the number one reason why they open their mouth. 2, will mention first all the successes and strengths that you do in that particular area they're about to critique in. 3, will give you the critique in a beneficial, non-attacking manner, meaning the advisor will go out of their way to make sure they get the critique through in a way that doesn't injure your ego, your emotions, or your drive, or your motivation. Hear that? And a true advisor will make sure the advice they give comes through in a way that doesn't damage your emotions, your ego, your drive, or your motivation. An advisor makes sure that when they speak, it's from a place of knowledge, meaning if they don't know how to help, they'll either remain silent or say, I really don't have the answers, but this is what I see. They're really open and honest. So there's another category. An advisor is really open and honest about their level of expertise or what they really know about what they're talking about when they advise you. Lastly, an advisor will also offer to help in the form of either guidance or physical help, meaning that an advisor won't just talk about all you did wrong. They'll have viable solutions or viable things you can do in place of the error. So an advisor, a true personal advisor, if they see you put a Facebook post up and you have grammatical errors, they'll remind you that once you maybe use Word, write it out, do a spell grammar check on it, and once it passes spell grammar check on it, have someone else proofread it, then maybe post it. They won't just say, oh, I see you have a lot of grammatical errors on your post, you should fix that. They'll have a viable solution. They're going to advise you how to do better. So that's where the advisor shines. The advisor is the all-around support system. But the last part of the advisor that connects to the other two does not mean that you'll always be able to take their advice and like what you're hearing. Because a true advisor will also give you the harsh truth, but it always comes from that first thing of coming from a place of generally wanting to see you succeed. Why do we hate all three of these people? And we do to various levels. None of us like to admit that we have faults and shortcomings, and very few people like to face theirs or own up to theirs. So automatically, anyone who gives critique in any shape, form, or fashion, whether it's hating, advising, or critiquing, we despise it. And if there are people who may hear my voice and say, well, I don't, and you're one of the rare people who actually benefit from critique, and you need to give yourself a round of applause, because definitely that's an emotional strength to love critique, but most people hate it. So we hate them because they kind of expose our shortcomings. We hate the hater, one, and this is a real good reason to hate this particular type of person, because they actually expose your weakness to others. They threaten your standing. They threaten your branding. They threaten your how you're viewed by the world. So the hater, the true hater, the one who publicizes your errors, we hate them because they actually can do damage. They are dangerous on many levels. The critic, we hate them because they always got something to say. They always got something to say. Even though they're not doing it in public, even though they're not trying to expose you, it's still, it stings because you always got something to say. The advisor, it is the truth that hurts with them, meaning that when they speak, we know we can't be angry with them, and we know they're generally seeing something in us that needs to be fixed, and it's the embarrassment of being exposed even just to that person, because usually the advisor comes from someone who we respect, a mentor, a family member, somebody that we kind of is close to us. It can even be a wife or a husband, and we really don't want to see our weaknesses, so we hate that we show weakness in front of those folks that are advisors, even though it's a good thing because we all can use the support and help. The real threat of each. A true advisor has no threat. A person who is truly in your corner and truly is an advisor to you is a safe space for you. But they're rare and hard to find. But when you find a true advisor, someone who truly has mastered the supportive role of being a considerate and the person that can sit back and can help you navigate life and give you good, solid advice, they really have no threat other than one. Just make sure when getting advice from an advisor that you're sure that they are a person who has succeeded in the area they give you advice. It's the only area of threat I can actually come up with the advisor. Just make sure that they are qualified to give the advice they're given. And most advisors will try to do that, but sometimes even we may think we know a thing and don't. So the only threat with an advisor is to make sure that they have knowledge in the area that they are trying to advise you in. The critic, the threat of the critic is they are motivation killers and ego bruisers. When dealing with a critic, you have to remember they're a critic. Take what they say with a grain of salt. It may be 100% factual, but delivery may be the worst. Say it again. With the critic, take what they say because it may be 100% factual, but the delivery may be the worst. And also, with dealing with a critic or being surrounded by critics, do not let their opinion become your reality. Do not let their statements define who you are. Because a critic sometimes will make you think you are the worst that ever done it. So what you must do in that situation is, when navigating around critics, you must understand that they may have 100% facts, but do not let those facts define you. Haters. I've described before, the threat of a hater is that they can ruin your public reputation. They can make you look incompetent. And they also can kill motivation and kill drive. How do we benefit from all three? One is a personal thing we can do, a personal growth. One, there's a few things. One, I am not defined by my mistakes and my errors. I am defined by my successes. My mistakes, my errors, and my failures are only opportunities for me to grow to become my most excellent of selves. So, how do you grow to benefit from advisor, critics, or haters? All of them see or expose a weakness in your armor. Don't wear your heart on your sleeve. What they see don't define you, but it's an opportunity to learn. Especially from the haters. People, your enemies will tell you the most about your weaknesses, where your friends may sugarcoat or push it under the rug. So even the haters, don't give them power, don't allow them to see it, but take what they say and analyze it to see how much is truth, how much is embellishment. With the critics, take what they say without the emotion. With the advisor, know that they have your best interest at heart. So listen. But yes, grow as a person when you realize that just because you have exposed a weakness, it does not make you weak. Just because you have made a mistake doesn't mean you're less than. Just because you have failed doesn't make you a failure. So in navigating haters, critics, and advisors, understand that your mistakes don't define you. They build you. Next thing. Understand that everyone has an opinion and everyone has a mouth. So don't be offended when people speak. You don't have to take everything to heart. I call it giving emotional energy. Just because a person says a thing that's designed to trigger a response from you doesn't mean you have to give that response. Matter of fact, you lose your personal empowerment and you empower them when you allow them to do that to you. So in navigating haters, critics, and advisors, have emotional intelligence where you control yourself, where you don't take things personal. You simply analyze and grow. And last but not least, we're dealing with critics, advisors, haters. I may not be the best, most excellent version of me today, but I'll be better than I am today, tomorrow, and I'm much better than I was yesterday. Live by that mantra, and you won't have to worry about the haters, the critics, and advisors. But understand, you need all three to grow because they expose kinks in your armor that you can't see. So from now on, when you see haters, critics, and advisors, embrace your advisors. Bring them close to you. Pay attention to your critics. Listen to what they say. Pay attention to your haters only in the sense of what have I allowed them to see that they're trying to use against me, and how can I close that gap in my armor? All three help. Of course, we want to keep haters far from us because they try to damage our reputation. We want to take critics with a grain of salt because they can be a little harsh. But we keep our advisors closer and close to us because they have our best interests at heart. Hope my video helped a little bit on, help you understand the difference between a hater and a critic. Because a lot of times, closing, a lot of times we put critics in the category of haters. They're not. They're just critics. They really have no ill intent to you. They don't want to expose you. They're people who are trying to help but haven't perfected the skill set of giving advice. So please don't put critics in the hater category because you won't benefit from the critique. With advisors, we all love our advisors. Other than, don't get mad at them when they tell you a truth you don't want to hear. Even though advisors usually will take time to ask you, do you mind? If I give you my 2 cents. A lot of times we'll say yes, but then we say yes because hopefully they're going to say what we want to hear. With advisors, be patient with them. They mean good. They mean good. They say something you don't like. Maybe it's because you need to hear it. And once again, with haters, protect your business from them. Don't give them too much information. Don't let them in your inner circle. Try not to share your successes with them. Definitely try not to share your failures with them. But when they do catch something, use the opportunity to say, that's the kink in my armor they found. Let me seal that kink up. All right, Monte Coleman, IES Coaching, harsh truth about haters, critics, and advisors. Everybody who has something to say about you ain't a hater. Stop saying that. Every critic is not your enemy. And every advisor don't always really know what's best for you, but they have good intent. So all three have their benefits and their threats. Please be mindful. If you master this category of controlling the people around you, you'll be able to grow from their knowledge, grow from what they see, and just grow as a person. Thank you, Monte Coleman, IES Coaching. Have a good morning.